let's begin with our first topic of Moses. What is the first thing that you realize when you think about Moses?
He calms.
He calms. Mm-hmm. Why do we need to understand the calming effect of Moses at this time?
Because as you start the session with this one, she's had peace in the home, but right now, outside her window, they've been building a house and they haven't been working on it for a little while. And the machines have just arrived and they're making an enormous noise, a cacophony. And this is what is happening with many at the moment. They are listening to the cacophony, the sound, the noise, the outside noise, the disturbances, and they haven't calmed themselves. They haven't remembered to be the eye in the storm. And so they're playing with all the outside interference. And it is stopping our transmissions from coming through clearly because they are not on their bandwidths.
Mm-hmm.
They are not what we term tuning in. And we discussed with this one last night about radio stations and how so many families and so many friends, wires are literally getting tangled at the moment because there's not a clear communication, because they are not on the same bandwidth, so they can't tune in. So when you have a radio set and you turn the dial the old-fashioned way, the new way is just to press a button and it finds its tune.
Yes.
Settles into the vibration. In the old-fashioned way, you used to turn a knob until you actually found your station. And until you found your station, there was a lot of static, there was a lot of noise on the line. So you actually couldn't hear any music. You couldn't hear anybody speaking. There was a crackling. There was a disconnect. And then suddenly you would make the connection and then everything was crystal clear. You could hear every sound. You could hear every word. And that is what is happening at the moment. Alba, so much static on the line. So you will have family here and your listener here, and friends here and your listener here. But the listener has turned on the radio station, but the family and the friends can't find that bandwidth. Mm-hmm. So no matter how much you speak to them, no matter how much you try and explain, they physically can't hear you because there is no alignment. So if the line is not straight, then the discussion is going to get lost in the peaks and the valleys until there is a connect. So if your listeners have been working on themselves and lifting their vibrations and going within, then there will be a calming of the waves, and they will realize that they don't have to give out any more or any less. They just live in the moment, and when the family and the friends are ready to tune in and find the station and have an alignment, it'll happen perfectly. But this is not something that can be forced. It takes time. For if one is ready, it doesn't automatically mean that another will be ready to meet you.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way that we can facilitate this meeting in between on a quantum level, perhaps in our mind, sending them love, sending them just good thoughts? Can we accelerate it that way?
Well, there's free will, Alba,
Yes.
so nothing can be forced.
Mm-hmm.
But as all are energy, and you all put into the energy field, and whatever you put into the energy field then reverberates. Like, we always come back to putting something into that pond and then having that ripple effect.
Yes.
Think of that pond or a glass of water as the energy field. And if you pop your finger into the glass of water and move it around, then there will be action happening. So that's why we always say, start every day with a meditation, because that is what is setting your intention for your energy field. So what do you wish for those family and for those friends? You know, if you look back in your life and your listeners look back in their lives, they would have had friends that they are no longer in touch with.
Yeah.
Those friends came in for a certain length of time, and now they've dissipated. They added to the recipe what was necessary, and now new friends, new acquaintances have come in and dropped something else into the mixture, and very few stay in the parameters forever and ever and ever, per se. So it's always evolving, it's always growing. We've said before, whatever you put in is what you're going to get out, what you're going to get back, that boomerang. And yet you always act so surprised. So to answer your question, Alba, if you wish to have the alignment, first have the alignment with self.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no alignment with self and opening up to us, how then do you expect to have an alignment with anything or anyone else? That alignment will happen when you connect with a point of stillness within. So we get back to the meditation, to the quiet, to the calm, and to Moses. And who was Moses? And what did Moses stand for? But for his people. His arms extended like a mother bird, sheltering all the little babies. and he led his people through to safety. We showed this one a little green plastic soldier, like her brother used to play with many, many, many years ago. And we put Moses as this little figurine. He wasn't wearing a green soldier's uniform, but we put that in her mind, and we've just put it into her mind now, because what soldiers do is they go out to battle, to fight for something, to make a way, to make a path to a new way. And that is what Moses was doing. And we dressed him in white from head to toe, his white flowing robes with his white veil, his cloth, and across his chest we put the royal blue for the kingdom of David, for the Star of David, for the Magen David, for the Merkabah, and for the Christed light. For didn't we not say that this energy that is coming is fusonic? Yes. And it is the Christed light, and it is blue. And when this one was standing in her kitchen and lifted over the lake with Jesus, with the blue light, he was here to remind you all that he is with you, he is guiding you, and he has brought Moses back to open the path and to lead the charge along with you all. So this noise that everybody is hearing and listening to, turning on all the airwaves, this serves them not. For Alba, look at you. Look at you in your new abode. And how is it serving you as opposed to the cacophony of Miami?
Yep. Totally different.
And what has it done to your nervous system?
It's calmed it down.
And when it calms one has time for introspection. One doesn't jump into a bus that has lost its brakes and going full speed down the highway. So it is time to climb off the bus and leave the asylum behind.
Mm-hmm. That's a good word for it. Good, so we know about Moses now. So another thing that you were talking about was transmute or transmutation. What is that all about?
So this one was wondering what on earth transmute was and transmutation. And she was thinking of AI, she was thinking of everything she possibly could. But to transmute or to transmute is to change from one thing to another. And Gaia is about to transmute. It's about time she had her liftoff, her graduation. And it is time for the earthlings to lift their vibrations and to transmute with her as well. It is time for the crossing. It is time to cross over. For all life is in a different form and a different format. And as one is in Aurora or Earth or Orion or the Pleiades, if one is a comet in a gaseous state, in Middle Earth, one takes a different form. We've shown you the insect creatures. We've shown you all the beings that walk the halls of judgment and the halls of justice that meet in the Great Hall. All the diplomats, the ambassadors, the leaders that come from all over the galaxy, all of them in their different form. And there is a transmutation that takes place. So, earthlings in your 3D form, think this is what you are, but you have many mutations. You came to Earth at this particular time, space, and density for no other reason than to lift the vibrations of Earth, of the being, the biological being of Earth called Gaia. So, what are you doing about lifting her and helping her? For she has hosted you in this current adventure. And so you're on a mission together to take a new place in the galaxy. But many of you are forgetting your missions, and you are getting so embroiled in the tiny things, the fighting with the friends, the fighting with the family, the fighting with the governments. Did we not say to have peaceful sittings in silence and let your words be on placards so that the agitation doesn't get served? For as you serve the agitation gets served back. We showed this one a video the other day of a nation with their arms stretched out, and they came up with one clap and then stretched out and above their heads with a clap again. They weren't saying anything, but their 3D vehicles were responding with this one big clap, and that spoke volumes. It united the crowd, for they were one tone in a full orchestra, and many could hear that, and many were stirred because then they were united. And when that happened, the vibrations were lifted because the collective were working together, and then they were working towards their mission. So if many more nations, if many more listeners listening to this and understanding the power of one clap, that is putting it into the energy field. That is sending the vibrations out. and reaching many and sending a very strong message. And yet, not one word was spoken. Do you now see
Yes.
what we are saying, Alba?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're seeing that there's a lot of changes going on around the world, and you've spoken about this. You've warned us about it. What do you say now at this point now where things are really getting serious? Things are starting to come out that a lot of people did not expect. I know we need to raise our vibrations and just own ourselves, but do you have any other tips or advice on what's ahead of us and keeping our vibration high at the same time?
We like the way you sneaked that in. So please tell the audience what you say is coming, but at the same time, the vibration's high.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Alba, when they know who they are, there's no reason for a vibration to be lowered.
Okay.
For when they have arguments with family and friends and want to be understood, it is more important for them to understand who they are. Mm-hmm. For when they know who they are and stand like Moses, steadfast on the rock, they will then look at the family and friends, and as much as there is love there, they will realize and remember that it is a part that they are playing, and that it is okay for the others to play their part. Mm-hmm. And so when they are then the observer and they breathe and they sit back and they just watch, then the hurt won't be there anymore. Mm-hmm. It'll be like mercury rolling over a glass or a mirror. It'll just flow. So that's why we always say, know who you are. Stand in self. For if you stand for something, you have to stand for self. But Moses, standing on the rock, which is rock solid, hewn in rock, and that's where you build your homes. There's an old story that says the man that built a house on rock is the house that still stood. But he was standing on the rock and he was looking out to sea, and there were the waves crashing on the shore. And when the waves crash on the shore, what happens to those waves then, Alba?
Well, they go back into the sea. Is that what you're saying?
They go back into the sea.
Right.
And then they come in again. And sometimes they come in gently.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And sometimes they come crashing in. And in some areas of the sea, there are rips, and those are the areas where you don't swim. And the other areas are gentle. And there are some areas where you take the children, where you know that it's safe. And there are other areas where you play. The surfers go and play. They ride those waves.
Yes.
But the shoreline is ever changing. So when the waves come crashing in, the shoreline gets changed. So yes, there are changes that are coming in, that are going to come crashing in. And then there will be a different view. We said for some, it'll be a wild ride.
Yeah.
For others, it'll be a gentle ride. But those that have done work on themselves, those that have lifted their vibrations, for them it'll be a gentle ride. For others, they will come crashing. But this is not a bad thing. This is what's called a big wake-up call.
Yeah.
And this is part of their contract. So it's not that one sits here and goes, oh, I've got such a high vibration. I'm so spiritual. Look at those over there come crashing down. Because this is only in this current adventure. In the last adventure, you were the ones that were crashing down. And they were the ones watching you going, oh, we're so spiritual. Look at those ones crashing down. So that's why we say there can't be judgment. You keep on forgetting that this is an adventure. This is an emotional plane. You came here to experience all the emotions, the crashing down and the soft going back, the forward and the back and the play. That's why we said life is a dance. So this is what you chose. This is the adventure. You came to assist Gaia. And while you came for the mission, you played a human existence. You got a job, you fell in love or you didn't fall in love, your heart was broken. You had children, you didn't have children. You hated, you loved, you enjoyed. Some of you swim, some of you don't swim. Some of you play tennis, some of you don't play tennis. Horse ride, all the little games that you were given to play, from skiing to cycling to rollerblading. There are so many things that you are given as humans to enjoy your adventure. Creating music, Alba, you being a hypnotist, playing with your tunes and all your tones, enjoying that. That's not something that you were using 10 or 15 years ago, was it?
Oh, no, not at all.
Not at all. So this is how you progress, you change. So just as the people in your life, the family members and the friends come and go, so do what you decide to invest your energy or time with. That also comes and goes. So we're not going to tell you, Alba, what you're going to be playing with in another 10 years' time. Because if we told you 20 years ago that you would be traveling the world, hypnotizing people, talking, giving gatherings, and playing with instruments, would you have ever believed it?
No, my guides tried, and I wouldn't believe them.
And would you believe that you would have been an owner of a big 6-acre property with a lake and a forest?
Never in my
Sit in the
dream.
middle with all that beauty around you?
Never in my dreams.
Well, Alba, if that is what you are living with now, can you imagine what's going to be around the corner in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
Nope, I haven't manifested it yet.
You haven't manifested it. You haven't put it into your pond. You haven't put it into your glass of water.
Not yet.
Not yet. So when this one hypnotized her sister and her sister told her about the repository, which is the energy field that is there for you all, with all the colors of possibilities. And the colors, of course, hold all the tones, all the vibrations, all the magic, all the alchemy, all the transmutation. So what is it that you wish to transmute with, to, and through? Because even as you are your 3D in your current form, we showed this one through the meditation, the tubes of light that she discussed with you, Alba.
Yes.
And that you both decided that she would not tell anybody about that yet, because that will be for when you and her are traveling the world.
Okay.
And she will put everybody through that exercise of the tubes.
Wonderful.
Well, that is a very, very, very strong exercise and something for many to look forward to. And please note that for those who have consternation about the nations, we have repeatedly said that this one and Alba will be traveling the world together, have we not?
Oh, yes.
So, does that not mean that the cacophony is going to die down in order for these two to travel?
That's the plan.
So there will be a new landscape. So we want to say to the audience, you are not who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You are not who you were even yesterday. So that in itself is terribly exciting. And the people that you know are not the same people that they were yesterday either. So that is why the judgment has to stop. For you are still judging them for what has happened in the past, but the past is gone.
Yeah.
And that is why you can only address anyone and everyone, including yourself, in the actual present, because that is all that you have, is this red hot moment. So instead of associating with friends and family and treating them in the old pattern, it's now time to address them as a brand new being that you are just meeting for the very, very first time, which means that you will give them your attention. So this one has been listening to somebody called Joe Dispenza. Everything that we have told this one, Joe Dispenza, has been her affirmation. Oh, yes, that's right. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what my guides told me. So now we're going to give you a little example, Alba. When we addressed this one, she was in her point of stillness, which was traveling the Crown Range from Queenstown to Wanaka. Because when you're driving a long distance, your mind floats.
Yes.
You might have the road in front of you, yes, you are traveling along in a car, but your mind is elsewhere, and you are then in a point of receiving. And so this one was in her point of stillness, and she was traveling through that crown range when we showed her the cloud formation that said JOY, just own yourself. She said, yeah, big deal, big deal. She thought it was joy. She said, can't you, do better than that? And then we spoke to her about just owning yourself. And we showed her the record player and the lifting of the needle and listening to a song, and the song being the story of your life, the human life. So when you meet your family, when you meet your friends, they start telling you about the story of their life or what's happening in their life. We've said about, oh, my husband's doing this, my boyfriend's doing this, my girlfriend's this friend's being mean, my boss is this, my parents are this. So it's always the stories. And the story, the needle on the record player goes into a groove. And when you tell the same story over and over and over, that needle goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the grooves. And that's how we taught this one about wiring and firing circuits and bumps, how the brain works. And that's how Joe Dispenza explains it in a different way, but it's exactly the same thing. And then you had Wayne Dwyer, who said, if you don't look at things differently, they will never change.
Mm-hmm.
So the story gets repeated. You don't look at things differently. You are wiring and firing in your brain. So it is like a computer, it runs a program. Therefore, you need a circuit breaker. And the only way that you can cut the circuit is to stop telling the same stories, because those stories are older. Gaia is old. Her energy is old. She needs to lift her vibration in order to ascend, for ascension, for liftoff. So how are any of your listeners going to have liftoff and go to a new place if they are still telling the same story in the same loop, like a hamster on a treadmill? And they want to be right, and they want to be heard, and they want to be self-righteous. And how is it working for them? How is it that their wounds are not healing? They don't understand it. So, Alba, we give you a perfect example of this one. So you were going to hypnotize this one last week, not so?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet she had to cancel. Why did she have to cancel?
She got sick.
She got a chest infection.
Mm-hmm.
And we will now tell you why she got the chest infection.
Okay.
Because she was playing an old game. She was forgetting her worth again. So her and her husband have been building a house, and she's been staining all the weatherboards. And this house has got 400 square meters. This is not a small house. It has many, many, many weatherboards. So she had piles and piles and piles of wood to stain. And because she's been writing her book, because she's been giving hypnosis sessions, she's been feeling guilty that she hasn't been contributing to the nest. So she was torn between doing hypnosis sessions and carrying on writing her book and helping. So she was standing on the same piece of uneven ground, staining day after day, staining even long after her body had told her that she had had enough. Her ankles even started swelling, her hips started hurting, and she desperately needed a break, but she would not take a break because she wanted her husband to say, "Good girl, well done." She was looking for praise from the outside instead of the inside. And then on top of that, all the sawdust went all over the floors, and then the builders were coming the next day. And so he asked her to sweep up and get all the sawdust. And so there she was, as tired as she was, with her hips aching and her swollen feet. She wanted to be told she was the good girl again, and she was cleaning up. And it gave her great satisfaction. But what it did do, it wiped her out for a whole week, and it robbed her of her own time. Mm-hmm. So many listeners will be listening to her telling this story and seeing themselves in that picture. So although this one has done a lot of work on herself, she still falls into those old patterns. But she's done a lot of cutting of the circuit boards, and she can now see that, and she can be very amused, and she will know for next time. In actual fact, because she was so tired, she didn't even have the energy to cook. And she always cooks dinner. And her husband came home from working hard, and she now knew how hard he'd been working because she was physically working that hard. But because of her chest infection, she was sleeping a lot, and her bones were weary. And he said, "What's for dinner?" And she said, "Well, there's nothing for dinner tonight. I just don't have the energy." And then he said, "Well, what about we have a takeaway? Why don't we go and get an Indian takeaway?" And he said "we," but he actually meant you go and get it. And this one stood up for herself, which normally she wouldn't. She would just get in the car and go and get it. Hence, of course, that pattern of the chest infection. And she, because she had no energy, had no option but to say, "No, I'm not going to get it, but you know what? If you want it, why don't you go and get it?" But he had no energy to go and get it either. So they ended up having grilled cheese on toast. Alba, it wasn't the end of the world, was it?
Nope, sounds like my dinners.
So it is okay to give yourself some slack. Give yourself some grilled cheese on toast every now and then. It's definitely preferable than building up a chest infection. So that's what our message is, Alba. We want people to realize that there's transmutation every day. As this one transmuted, she changed. She said, "No, I'm not going to go and get the Indian takeaway." And that is what this human incarnation is all about, is change. Do not do a constant loop. You are not a hamster on a treadmill. You are a human that is aligning with Gaia, your star-seeded lineage sent you here on this very important mission. When this session started, this one was struggling to align right at the very start before the audience was included as Alba was doing the induction, because there was a great noise outside her bedroom with the house being built next door. The trucks were going, the cement mixers were going. And that noise jarred her because she wanted to be in a soft flow with Alba for you all. And that is exactly what all of you are living through at the moment. You are living through the cement trucks. You are living through the jarring, the noise. But let it be external. Let your internal be calm, be centered, and be like Moses. For Moses held his rod and his staff, and that is what it's all about. Old people have walking sticks. They hold on to them like a rod and a staff. That is what supports them. That connection with the rod and the staff, that is what the pharaohs had. That is the connection. Note that it is connected to the earth, that it grounds you, and it has part of the symbol of the ankh. An ankh like an anchor, connecting you between yourself and the all that is. We wish the audience to look up ankh and everything that it stands for. We wish them to draw it, to connect with their physical vibration onto that paper, or to paint it, or to have it as this one wears these pearls. They could wear an ankh around their neck, and they can have an image of a Merkaba. They can start studying the Merkaba and what it is. They then can study the form of a pyramid, which we told this one, ancient sacred geometry of the magic square. And please remember, you are always connected to the ankh. You have your staff, for you lift your eyes to the heavens, and there is your help. And the heavens reside within you, and God resides within you, the all that is, the Fusonic light. This is not a time to be scattered. It is time for the single clap, for the Viking clap, for the V for the Viking stands for victory, for it is also the shape of the pyramid, for the connections, for the pyramid is your capstone, for the capstone is your transmitter and your receiver. You are the receivers. You are the quartz. You are the crystal. You are the crystalline structures. We told you to be clean as crystal. We told you to get rid of the dross. We told you to drink water so that the crystal can be clear, so that you can get your communications, so that you do not have to waver, so that you can be aligned with your GPS, so that you can remember your mission, so you can remember your Merkaba and who or what you are, what you live for, who you live for, and why you live. You come in as a single cell, as an individual organism, and when you pass away, you will once again pass away as that single energy, which will then get intermingled with your soul family. You are not alone, for your single cell organism is incorporated in the body of the all that is. So the all that is total transmutation and energy expansion and evolution at all times. There are great changes ahead for you all. Many will depart, as we have said before, but please know that everything that is happening for the collective's evolution. It may seem like a great calamity, a great catastrophe, but so much joy will be held ahead. The party is getting ready, and the parties that are party to the party are being aligned. Do you see how many words transmute?
Yep.
One word can have so many meanings. Please look at your words and see the meaning that you give them. And you can take offense at words that are given to you, or you choose not to. So Alba, once again, we need people to press firmly on their chests and say a few words out loud to themselves to remind them that they are a living vibrational being. So what is it that they are vibrating on any given day or moment, because as they set out the vibration, it will then bump into the vibration that it meets on the same bandwidth. So they will only bump into the tune that they are playing. So if they want to listen to a lighter tone, have a lighter mood, have a better time, then they've got to change the vibration, change the tune. Parents of old used to say to the children, "Don't you speak to me in that tone, my girl. Change your tune." And many had no idea how accurate that was. Where did those words first emanate from? How did those parents know how accurate they were? Why are we not teaching our children about their tone and how fabulous their tone is, and how nobody has a tone like theirs, and yet it is imperative for their tone to be heard for the universal orchestra, Alba. Mm-hmm. It is time for the orchestra to ramp up and lift the vibrations for those puppeteers and marketeers that are controlling the orchestra and setting the tone and trying to lower the tone, lower the music of the orchestra, lower the ground swell. Their tone is not high. So when you start doing the single clap and lifting the vibration, your vibrations will get so high that those puppeteers and marketeers and controllers will not be able to control you anymore, because literally your tone will be out of reach. And that is what many don't understand. So as long as they are embroiled down the rabbit holes, as long as they are buying into the mainstream media, they are keeping their vibrations low. They are not lifting above. They are not ascending. They are not changing the loop. They are not looking at things in a different way. They are wired and fired in an old pattern. They are telling the same story. They are throwing a pity party, and it is getting them nowhere. They are on a treadmill going nowhere. And yet they are the ones that plugged the treadmill on. They are the ones that stood on the treadmill. They are the ones that can decide to unplug and get off the treadmill, the machine, and walk freely. So what or who do you need to unplug from today? This one recently unplugged, and the initial unplugging caused her a little bit of discomfort. However, her load now is so much lighter. She's remembering the 7 kilos in the overhead locker rather than the 30 kilos dragging around. This is not a time for dragging baggage behind you. You are light travelers. You are travelers of light particles, photonic structure, taking a certain form through time, density, and space. Please do not forget who you are. It is time to lighten up.
Thank you. You had added 2 more words to the list, which is settle and grievances. Did we already cover this?
In a way, Alba, we did, because so many are holding grievances. And as long as you hold a grievance, you can't settle, you can't be settled. And the dust needs to settle. People need to be settled within. So you know what it's like when somebody's very angry and somebody says, oh, settle down. All you want to do is punch their lights out. The last thing you want to do is settle down. But the settling down that we're talking about is the settling of oneself. But the grievances that one is feeling at the moment, that one is feeling that there is a discord throughout this earth plane. And so one is holding on to the grievance. And as one is holding, one is not expanding, one is not letting go, one is still holding on to and filling up the 30 kilos, filling up that bag, that suitcase that is so full now of all those grievances, of what all the governments are doing, all the controllers. Instead of opening it up, turning it upside down, shaking it out, and saying, I choose not to hold on to that nonsense. I will not be controlled. I will not be governed, because I am sovereign. I will join with my fellow humans in a single clap, V for victory, because I know that those might have lost their way, but that is the part they are playing now. But I know that I came for this mission as they did. They are playing the part to help me to remember that I am sovereign. And that is why I empty the suitcase. I empty the suitcase of grievances so that I can settle and play my part perfectly. Alba, at this time, we think it would be apt for you to choose a tone to settle all the listeners, because we did say that you were the conductor of the orchestra of all the tones, and set a tone so that they can remember what a vibration and what a tone is.
All right. So I'd like to choose the one for the solar plexus today. And let me strike that now. Releasing anything that no longer serves you. And it seemed to have released something in Jill, too.
So she's coughing up. So it's the end of the residue.
Mm-hmm.
But she's coughing up to remind people to cough up what they're holding inside, what they're holding on their chests.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you were speaking with a whole lot of tones gathered together here for humanity. For Moses stood in front with 6 disciples on either side, and behind him, James, and then behind him, Jesus, with his flock in front. And all the listeners are the flock.
Wow.
So he says, did you forget that I hold you in my golden heart? Did you forget about my rod and my staff? Did you forget that I will always open the path and lead you home? Beggars, thieves, prostitutes, businessmen, all are coming home. None are to judge another, for you are all my children. You are all playing a part in this final game. Please do not forget your light, your particle, your sunshine, your laughter, your love, your photonic structure. And this one is seeing such a bright light. Her eyes are blinking. And it's coming from above. This is on its way. Did I not say that I will be returning for you all? Please, my children, do not despair. Do not hold angst in your hearts. For all are one. There are many, but there is one. Feel your pulses. Feel your vibration. Know I am your vibration. Know you are my vibration. Know we are sources, my Father's vibration. Fear not. All is well. So be it.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hi. How was that for you?
I couldn't understand why I felt so disconnected in the beginning, because the noise outside was disturbing me. I was concerned that it was going to interrupt.
Yeah.
but in actual fact, it's almost like they put the noise there
To sh-
to be a prop.
there are no accidents here. Wow.
So, how was it for you?
Good. I mean, I was basically just listening like everybody else. Basically, two words that we went through: Moses and transmutation. That's it. So everything else was kind of covered.
Yeah,
And I really like the idea of thinking about things differently every day. I think that's really important. Whatever grievances you have with someone about something that happened before, today's a new day. They're a new person, and so are you.
yeah.
I like that idea.
So that everything's always new.
Everything's always new.
If it's new, you can't hold on to that old stuff, eh?
No.
That's the whole thing. You can't hold. So that means you're an empty vessel, which means you're ready to receive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's exciting because then if you empty yourself, it's like a birthday every day. You don't know what presents you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, when you wake up in the morning, it's a brand new day. Whatever happened yesterday, let's start all over again. And it usually does work out that way. If you have a grievance with someone, they change. You know, they've gotten a chance to sleep on it also, and maybe they're in a different mood. So, yeah,
But
there was a
also
lot
they
to cover.
showed, sorry.
No, there was a lot that was covered today.
Yeah. But they showed me that it's okay to cut. You've
Yeah.
got to cut the baggage. So if you've got the family and the friends that are not allowing you to take off as such because of the old program. So it's
Right.
like you've always played that part.
Yes.
You are the baby sister, or I am the wiser one. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you don't know what you're talking about, and what you're saying is nonsense.
Yeah.
You actually don't have to associate with those people anymore. Although they were old friends or family, you can choose to disconnect because they've played their part. But now, and they're showing me a stage. So, like in a film, so you'll have somebody playing their part and then they leave the stage, don't they? Then you'd have
Yes.
another player come in and playing another part.
Yeah.
So they've played their part and now it's time for them to exit because a new player is coming onto the stage. So just because they've been on the stage with you for a certain amount of time, it doesn't mean that they've got to be with you on that stage until your last breath. And it's okay
Yeah.
to let go and realize that they are actually just playing a part.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can be that observer, then the emotional pain is no longer held. And that's when you don't get sick because you're not holding the old stagnation.
Yeah. Wow. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This is the last one for a while. This is why we wanted to get this one in. These sessions are different than my hypnosis sessions. These are channeled sessions just for this mission that Jill and I have. A lot of people have been questioning why I do so many with Jill, and it's because we agreed to do this to get information out. This is not a normal session. Right now, I am taking some time off. As you can see behind me, this is my new place, and I'm focusing my attention right now on getting settled and transmuting this place into a high vibe location. So thank you all for watching. Jill, you have any last words?
No, I just think chin up, upwards and onwards, and good luck, guys. Just have fun.
Yeah. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.